In 1802, a German by the name of Baron Detmar Bass bought 10,000 acres for just 25 cents an acre, including the land for my hometown of Zelienople, Pennsylvania. Well, Bass named the town after his eldest daughter, Zilly, and she brought her new husband, Philip Passavant, to the new town in 1807. Well, the Passavant family is still well known in Zelienople because in the 1920s, my grandfather built a home for the Passavants to earn passage to bring his family from Germany. Well, today we're going to make my town's main street. Now, this could look just like your town as well. My church, the St. Paul's German Lutheran, is on the outskirts of town, and it's beautiful with the stained glass windows. Now, you could applique trees like my sister Patty did, or you could make peace trees. Well, today we're going to make peace trees. And then there's the little Wise house. Oh, the little cottage my sister Kathy was born in. It's charming with its appliqued chimney and smoke, little curtains at the windows. And let's cross the street to the Main Street Elementary School. Red bricks, of course. And if you want, you could put some kids in the windows. Now, you could sew each one of the buildings into the town square sampler row, or you could turn each building into a wall hanging. Now, this is the photo of my alma mater, the Zelienople High School. And the yellow brick under the picture is from the building after they tore it down. And this is Main Street Elementary School. Oh, I walked 3 blocks every day to that school. Well, we've been told Rome wasn't built in a day. My friend Sue Bouchard is joining me, and we're going to build Main Street in a day. Sue and I are moving into this little cottage this afternoon. Well, do you think we could get it sewn in about 5 minutes?
I think so. If you do the sewing and I'll do the pressing.
What teamwork. Well, these are the pieces for the cottage, and they remind me of the little pig's brick house. What do you think?
Yeah, it definitely looks like a brick house with that fabric.
Well, when you're cutting the brick fabric, it is directional, so you need to be careful and just kind of lay out the pieces just as I did. For instance, most of the pieces have a 2.5 inch in them. This one is 2.5 by 4.5, but you see it's width by height. This is the same piece, same size, but now this piece has to go underneath the window. Now, this house will fit together perfectly. There will be no leaks in the roof if we have
a perfect 1/4 inch.
And did you do your test,
Yes,
Sue?
I did. And what I did was I took 3 strips of fabric, all 3 measure 1.5 inches. I sewed them together with what I thought was a 1/4 inch, and then I pressed it to make sure it lies flat, and I'm comparing it to my ruler to make sure that it is indeed 3.5 inches. So I think it's going to work.
You did good. No leaks in this cottage. I'm going to start on the window. It's 2.5 inches square. The pieces on either side are just 1.5 inch width. So I'm going to just flip those 2 pieces on the sides. Got my 1/4 inch foot. Have my stiletto handy and my red thread. 15 stitches to the inch, pedal to the metal, right down one side, and then if we're going to move, Sue, I'm just going to turn this around on the second side and sew this little window in place. And now it's your job.
Now we're just going to cut it off.
And I'm going to go on and just assembly line sew the door right onto the piece beside it. Both of these pieces are 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches. Just flip it right sides together. So you're pressing?
Yes, I'm going to set my seams first, and then I open it up and press my iron into that seam allowance so I don't get any little creases in there.
Couldn't be any worse than having a crooked little house. Okay, that piece is going to go on for you. It actually does look a little crooked. Well, the piece that goes right underneath the window, is exactly the same width, and this width should be 4.5 inches. Now if you put that piece right underneath your window and it doesn't fit, you need to go back and do an adjustment on your seam allowance. So flip it right sides together. So what do you think all of the little people are doing that live in this traditional cottage, Sue?
Well, since it's a traditional cottage, I think they're in there waiting for Father to get home from work. And at 5:30, we will all sit down at the table and eat together. That's what we did when I was growing up, anyway.
My mom made us sit at the window and say, "Come on, Father.
Come home."
Okay, one more piece. I'm going to have you do that one. Okay, set the seam. Oh, I think we're doing good. Got that sticker right in there.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. It's
now.
still warm. You can remove it if it's warm.
Okay. So now this little window section should be as tall as the door. Now, what was that door measurement?
4.5.
Okay. So how about we do it like that?
Yeah, that looks better.
The window didn't
The window
look
will be
on
on
the ground.
No.
Okay, flip it right sides together and get that all lined up on the edge. Now, this was our worst fear, 1/4 inch seam. This was our worst fear, that my dad would come home for dinner right when we were watching the Mickey Mouse Club, because we were down in the basement, he could turn off the TV from upstairs.
Oh, he was pretty tricky.
He was. Okay, so now we've got the window right on the side. Okay, set the seam and press it towards the door. Perfect. Okay,
This house
now,
is coming together quite quickly.
good. So the width of this should also equal the width of the next piece, which is 8.5 inches. And once again, the measurement, 2.5.
2.5.
2.5. Flip it right sides together and just sew it right along here. Now, the thing is, Sue, he would turn the TV off when we were down in the basement watching the Mickey Mouse Club, and we all had to run up the stairs. All 5 of us had to get up the stairs at one time because lions lived in our basement.
Lions? What kind of lions lived in your basement?
You didn't have lions in your basement?
No, we didn't have a basement. Remember, I grew up in California.
Oh, okay. Well, I grew up in Pennsylvania. You knew that. All right, we've got the whole top section on. So we're just going to press it like that. There you go. And while you do the pressing, I'm going to go on to the roof. Now the roof is 8.5 inches by 4.5 inches, and I love the thatched roof look. 2 squares, 4.5-inch square backgrounds are going to make the sky for right in the points on the roof. I drew diagonal lines on both of them. And if you just think of diagonal lines going in the direction as the roof would go. So this is the first piece. Set the second one aside and just sew right on the diagonal line. Let me line that up. Hold my threads right here. So it was always fun when we sat down to the dinner table. We all had to say a prayer first.
That's right. Did you guys trade saying who says a prayer every night?
Nope, everybody had to say a prayer.
Oh, everybody individually. Oh, we traded.
My brother was the baby, so all he had to say was, "Thank you, amen." That summed it up. Okay, I want to trim off this corner, so I'm going to put the 1/4 inch line right on my stitching and just trim 1/4 inch away. Take that corner, get rid of it, so that when you open up this piece and press the seam so that it's behind the sky, this next square is going to go right sides together to it. You're going to we're sew right in the line, and make sure we overlap it right up here at the tip. Now we need the smoke in the chimney, and you have that, Sue.
Yeah, and I'll show you what I did. I just took 2 templates, one for each shape, and I traced it onto some fusible interfacing. Just traced it right around, and after that I sewed it all the way around right on the line, and then you just turn it inside out. And when you turn it inside out, it's all ready to go. So it's all ready for your house when you're ready.
Well, perfect. I have one more cut. Ta-da! Get rid of it. And you can just go ahead and press that. Press it open.
All
It's going to be
right.
perfect. Okay, now there are pieces that go on either side of the cottage so that we can make this a 16-inch block whenever we're done. Let me just put the sky piece there to the side, And this is going to go right up
There you
here at
go.
the top. Ooh, it's looking good, like so. The chimney and the smoke, the chimney goes right there. The smoke goes right on top. Now, this little area right here can be a lot of fun because you can just go ahead, put a piece of sky that's 6 by 10.5. If you want to do a fussy cut person, look at this one. Little push cart. You could fuse those people right there. These are the fusible interfacing. Or if you'd rather have a little triangle tree. Now, this is exactly like the stars of friendship. Triangle and a square that I showed you, and that piece will go right up there. So you could make your block for your town square sampler for your row, or you could do a patty wall hanging.
This is definitely a patty wall hanging with all those embellishments.
For sure. Let me move all of these things around because she has another one that she started just for us, just so we could see. So the fun part about it is that you finish the cottage, you add the sky on just 3 sides, borders on 3 sides. But right here, she did a little folded border. And the folded border is just a 1 1/4 inch strip pressed wrong sides together. And then you just line up the raw edges with the sky and the folded border. That's going to go right on there like that. How do you like all her little people?
I do, and I really like this border too.
And the chicken, I like the chicken. Okay, now we could go ahead and put the grass strip, the ground strip. She did a little sidewalk. Is that right? Let me see. Is it going to go in this direction?
That's right.
Perfect. So you can move it along and do some little applique trees. She'll show us how to do that on the Angel program. Now, did we do the cottage in 5 minutes?
Just about. I think we did really well.
So let's go on to the church. Teresa made this church wall hanging, and it's so much fun because Teresa's native country is Mexico, and so
She put the cross right on top of the steeple, just like all the other churches in Mexico.
perfect. And I love her stained glass windows.
Yeah, I really like them a lot too. What she did is she used this bias fusible tape, and if you look at the underside, you can see how it has a sticky on it. You just place it around the window and you can just press it in place. It works really fast.
Perfect. Fast and fun. And so is my fabric for the church. Now you can select, something like brown stone or gray granite as we used in this church. The first row, all 3 pieces end up being 4.5 inches by 7.5 inches. Now you already know how to do the door, and you also know how to do the middle row. They are all 4.5 inch squares, but this piece is the same piece from the Stars of Friendship, squared up to 4.5 inches. And then the top row of the church has, just a little roof, little cottage roof like this. These 3 pieces all end up being 4.5 by 5.5. Now you can make the units and just sew them together like a 9 patch. Easy. But I think my favorite thing is the stained glass.
Yeah, I do too, because we really get to look at the fabrics to see if they work.
We get to play with the
fabrics.
For sure. I made a template out of template plastic. This is the shape of the stained glass. And so once you cut it out, you can go ahead and position it on there. How about something like this? Or let's see if we did this. That would be good.
Either one.
Either one. But look at this one. This is a great one. You just lay it in there like that. Now, do you like this one?
Yeah, I like that one the best.
Oh, that's good because we already have 2 windows made out of it with the fusible in the back. Now, once you decide on what shape, you trace your pattern onto the smooth side of fusible interfacing. Just position it right in there, pin it in place, and then you can just pull your template away. You're all ready for stitching. So would you like to take and fuse these down?
Yes, I would. I'd like to fuse both of them down.
Okay, both of them.
Yeah,
Boy, you're getting bossy.
Actually, I like to put them both at the same time because then I can just layer the fabrics next to each other and I can just sort of center them so I have the same distance between the bottom of the window and the floor.
That works good.
Okay, so let's get those pressed down. So
Are you going to use steam?
I'm going to use steam.
Good.
I like to use steam.
That's great. Well, while Sue fuses those in place, I'm going to get my machine ready for sewing. I like to use invisible thread on this step so that you don't see your stitching. Or if you would rather just use a plain thread, something that matches the stained glass, you won't see it either. And I'm going to use the blind hem stitch. Actually, I put in yellow thread so you can see what I'm doing. I have the blind hem stitch set on my machine, needle down. I've got the stitch, the needle right along the edge of the fabric in the background, and I'm taking stitch, stitch, stitch on the background, and then I'm taking a bite right into the stained glass. Let me step on the gas so you can see that coming right off the end. So while I finish this, why don't you do the cross?
Yeah, I'd like to show you how to do the cross. What I did was I took my template and I just traced the shape right on the paper size of the paperback fusible interfacing. I'm just going to match that up with my fabric, just like this, and just press it in place. And after we press it in place, all you do is you're going to cut out your shape, and I went ahead and did that, and I removed the paper off the back. And Ella's going to hand me the little piece of the steeple where it goes. I just center it right there in place and fuse it down. Just like that. Real easy.
So cute. Did you sing in the choir?
No, God didn't tune me, so I didn't get to sing in the choir. But I did play the piano.
So did I.
How funny.
Great fun. Well, I'm going to take one that I magically made and show you how to square it up, because each block is oversized and we want to square it up to 16 inches. I have the 16-inch square up ruler. The most critical part right now is taking the 1/4-inch line and putting it right up at the top. You don't want to cut that nice crisp point off. Just get it centered on here. It could be off center if you want it. But basically, you're going to square the church on 3 sides so it can fit into your town square sampler. It's school days for Amber Barnes, her sister, and cousins. Amber made a cute 1-block wall hanging, little bell in the bell tower, and triangle trees in the schoolyard.
Well, here's a picture of Amber, and this is her sister Melissa. And she also put my son Dylan into the schoolhouse, and I was really happy.
He's cute, no wonder.
Well, they're always chasing him.
I know, but look at this. Now, who is this? Can you tell they're from the same family?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Anyway, I'd like to show you how you can actually transfer the pictures from this piece of paper to your fabric. You need to use 100% Pimatex fabric, and you take the pictures to the photocopy store and get a color photocopy done on a special transfer paper. If you need to make your pictures a little bit bigger so they fill up the window, you can get them enlarged. You've got to remember to do that.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so you take your picture and you just go right sides down onto the fabric. Make sure there's no folds or creases in the fabric. And you take your iron, a real hot iron, and you press straight down onto the picture.
You're strong, girl.
Yeah, well, you can use a press if you have one.
That's
but
good.
You can also use an iron, and you just need to make sure that you don't do it too long, just about 7 seconds usually does it. If you need to check to make sure it's starting to transfer before you peel it, you can see how it's starting to go. Well, then you can just go ahead and peel it back.
Oh,
and it's just transferred right on there.
Good.
See, and it's like pliable on fabric. And then you're just going to square it up on the fabric to the same size as you want your window. And in this case, it's going to be 2.5 inches. So you just would take it over to your cutting mat and do that.
And we have all of the measurements for the school. Okay, let's start right here on the bottom row. The door is a 4.5-inch square, perfect wood grain, and then each one of the pieces, they're 4.5-inch by 5.5-inch pieces. This piece right here is a 2.5-inch square for the window, 2.5, and this is just 1.5. Those need to add up to 5.5 inches. Oh, they're going to go together great. Now the strip across the top, only 1.5 inches wide, but 14.5 inches long. We have 2 of them. The windows are all 2.5 inches, as Sue said. There's 6 of them, but they have a divider in between that's 2.5 inches square, and then these spacers are just 1.5 inches. Well, the roof is just like the church, because you have a piece. Now it's got to fit into the windows, else we'll have a leak here. So it's a 14.5-inch strip with a 3.5-inch square on the corners, diagonal line, sewing, trim it off, fold it out. And then this very top with the bell tower, these squares are 5.5 inches square, and then we have a little bit narrower of a piece that goes right in here. It's only 4.5 inches wide. So what do you think? Think we should put it together?
I think you should.
Okay. Now, go ahead and take some spacers. We could do a row, but let's do a wall hanging. Put a triangle tree right here. How about a 4-patch border right along there on that side, and then over on this side? Ooh, love those triangle trees. Gonna go like this. 3 trees, lots of trees. We always had pine trees at our house. Another 4-patch here, and then 4-patch at the top. You remember this was one of the first rows that I ever showed you, and this is the second row that I showed you. You're gonna have a green right on the bottom, followed with Edna's pinwheel. Schoolhouse. So were you good in school, Sue?
Well, sort of good. I did get a ticket coming home from school on my bicycle, but besides that, I was pretty good in school.
Let's go on to the trees. Well, we built a church, a school, and a cottage. And now, Sue, we're going to grow a forest.
Good. I want to see how you do that.
These are the flying geese trees. There are 2 of them on the main street. And you start out with 2 5.5-inch squares of green and 2 7-inch squares of sky. And just flip them right sides together. Can you imagine 4 geese out of 2 squares?
I want to see how this works.
Yes. Okay, center them right sides together, and then take a marker, anything that you can see, and draw a diagonal line corner to corner. Oh, you can see that yellow, corner to corner. And now comes the magic. It's already sewn. Okay, you take that diagonal line and you sew 1/4 inch from each side. Okay? All right. Let's just cut it. We're just going to fly it away. Cut it right down through the middle on the line. And now we have
2.
And now it's your turn.
All right. I'm going to press the seam allowances towards the larger of the 2 triangles. So I'm going to put that on top, or triangle, I should say. And I will press the seam allowance so it goes underneath that large. And I need to do that for both of them.
You look like you've done this before.
Oh, just a couple of times, but it's fun to watch you do it. All right, and then I'm going to layer them right sides together. I want to make sure all my outside edges are lined up, and I have the opposite fabrics are touching each other, and these seams do not line up.
That's the best part.
That's the best part.
They do not match. That's great. And then you draw another diagonal line right down, corner to corner, and sew 1/4 inch seam on both sides. Now, this is the last step, and we are going to have 4 geese. Okay, cut it in half, and now we have
2.
You're so good at math. And right here are 2 seams, the 2 seams, one here, one here. I'm just going to take and do a clip right up to the stitching so that now Sue gets to press.
Yes.
So they go.
I'm going to press so that the seams will be going towards the sky fabric on both of them.
And right
if you
at that
look
little
from the
clip.
back, you can see right where that clip is where they're splitting.
Perfect.
There you go.
And now for the flying geese ruler. It's just going to fly right out of here. We want to make these 2 by 4. And I have the flying geese ruler. The red marks indicate the geese. Just center it right on top of the lines. Ooh, that's looking good. Got a 1/4 inch seam there. Got the lines coming right into the outside edges. So I'm just going to take it, cut it in half like so. And once I've cut on 2 sides, I'm just going to turn this piece and position the ruler so that that red line is going right across the bottom again. Line up that diagonal line right down through there. 1 cut there and 1 cut there.
Perfect.
Perfect. Now you take 4 from one fabric and just sew it together. Sew the 4 geese, put a trunk at the bottom, a spacer at the top. Make 2 trees for Main Street. And now, Sue, you want to just take those and put them in the town.
All right.
This is a recipe book from my church in my hometown, and as you can see, I have used it a lot. But I love the words of wisdom on the front cover. It says, build a little fence of trust around today. Fill the space with loving work, and therein stay. Enjoy your quilting.